okay, you don't want to do discovery, fine. Maybe that means that you're going to fail more often than not if you don't invest into discovery. So don't look at it as cost. Look at it from the perspective that if you do it properly, you're going to save you money at the end of the day. And that can be a way to sell it to the execs. That can be a way to kind of like prove why discovery is important.
So we're doing product management. Everybody believes in it. It's all great. And the product management team turn up and they listen to the lunatics and whoever they were and say, right, we've got a great idea, we're going to do this. And the first thing the product management team says is, okay, we're going into discovery. And everybody moans. And I go, what are we going to, can we just not do it? Can we just, I thought we were failing fast. I thought we could MVP it. And they say all sorts of acronyms that nobody really understands. And basically you get caught in this trap where discovery becomes a negative thing. And people start trying to avoid product management, or at least the discovery loop. So let's hear, I mean, we're technologists, but we seem to have a healthy appreciation for product management. So let's have a little 1-minute defense from each of you of why product discovery is an important thing. You're up first, Chris. You're not allowed to say it's not.
Well, no, I think it's the most critical and most overlooked part of product management. I think it's easy to put it at the bottom of your to-do list because you're dealing with JFDIs that have come from execs, or you're dealing with techs that are moaning about tech debt. But ultimately, if you can't get ahead of what your users are thinking about your product, your competitors, how they're using certain parts of your functionality, you are still flying blind. Discovery is the starting point for all this data that we've been talking about. So if you're not investing in discovery, how do you know you're asking the right questions? And if you're not asking the right questions, how do you know you're building the right things? So I think ultimately, I would say that it's not an or conversation. There are plenty of models and frameworks, and product managers love religiously pontificating about one versus the other. But ultimately, dual track agile is a thing, right? You can do discovery at the same time as delivery. They don't have to be exclusive. They can sit on top of each other. And sometimes pulling those two things together gives you a better view of actually how does my discovery inform my delivery, and one then reinforces the other.
Right, I heard agile and I heard dual running. This is efficiency for me. I'm buying it. Martyna, can I do that? Can I do light touch discovery? Will that work?
So for me, I think with discovery, the question would be, how much money are you willing to spend really on discovery? It always comes back to numbers and budgets. So the question is like, okay, you don't want to do discovery, fine. Maybe that means that you're going to fail more often than not if you don't invest into discovery. So don't look at it as cost. Look at it from the perspective that if you do it properly, you're going to save you money at the end of the day. And that can be a way to sell it to the execs. That can be a way to kind of like prove why discovery is important. And what you mentioned before is like, if you do it properly, you can do it. There are frameworks to do it at the same time, like different ways. I think try them out. What works with your team. Because I think choose the right people for the discovery and make sure that you're able, like not everybody's up for the task, not everybody, like some people will be better off just building the feature that somebody thought of before. Some people will be great at brainstorming and discovery and talking to the clients, gathering the data and understanding exactly what the client is telling us or asking the right questions. So choose the right people to do the discovery and then prove why this is important in that way.
Okay, I'm getting this, but Paul, help me out here because what's the rest of the squad doing while discovery's going on? I mean, don't we all have to be involved in discovery? Isn't that how it works, so that we all know everything at all times?
You can have dual tracking. You can, and depending on your culture, you should be building a proof of concept, in order to satisfy people to see it. But I think it goes back to two very simple things, which is explain why it matters. And if the top of the office doesn't get it, they don't really want to do product, and for goodness sake, time box it, in terms of what can be expected. So, I think it's about preparing and making sure that the organisation culturally is prepared to do this hard thing, which is product management, which is very different to what things were before. And if they then really kick back on, you need 8 weeks to do the discovery for the following reasons, then you probably shouldn't push on before that because you haven't done your prep.
Okay, I think it's important that it's an appropriate sized amount of discovery, right? And a lot of that will play in. But good point you make about the top floor not quite being bought into it. Actually, I've also had the experience where the next level down aren't really bought into it, and they're just like, I could do that, I could do it tomorrow, I could do it, tell me, I'll just do it, right? So as I say, who should get involved, John, right? You know, I get the divide and conquer approach, I think that's appropriate, but when do we ask the tech lead to step in and give an opinion? When's that important? And when do we ask the CEO to step in and give an opinion?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's a little bit of, you know, if you're trying to solve a puzzle, what skills do you need in the room to solve the puzzle, right? So I think you've got to I think lots of the conversations we have, you know, I spend a lot of my time with execs, candidly trying to just translate things that we say in the product and technology community into words that they can understand, right? So I think it's a little bit of, you know, bring it back to some plain English. You know, we've got a puzzle we're going to try and solve, we've got to find out which answering the right questions, who do we need in the room to actually bring some expertise to answer those right questions. I think if you start there, then you have a much better chance of actually getting the right people in the room at the right time, right? I think the other piece is about the time. I mean, execs in general are impatient, right? So you will often get a lot of pressure from execs and middle management to just, you know, let's crack on with my intuition and my hunch, right? But I think this comes back a little bit to the sort of culture you're creating in general. Back to that transparency. I mean, I saw a chart yesterday from a organisation, and it was.
You didn't say it was then.
I did nearly say what it was, and I'm not going to. 9 days of build work, yeah, 140 days, getting to that point in time, another 67 days to deploy. Now, I think when you're in an organisation where you can start to have those conversations, you can go, I think we can afford a couple of weeks of discovery because we're spending 140 days already, you know, getting to the point before we're actually even, you know, cracking some code, right? So I think some of it's the environment you create and start to build understanding, right? So it a little bit comes back to transparency. So, but I think keep it plain English. We spend a lot of time dicking around before we actually get to building some product. Let's spend that time dicking about in the right way. And who do we need in the room to actually solve the puzzle at the outset? Just keep it plain English and you've got a much better chance of getting somewhere with it.